Throughout history, women have always been kept away from the realms of science and knowledge. In medieval Europe, not only were women denied the right to education, but they were sometimes even considered sources of sin and witchcraft. But was this also the case in Islamic civilization? Were Muslim women also expected to stay at home and distance themselves from knowledge? The answer to this question might challenge your thinking. Let's review history together. In the early Islamic centuries, not only did women have the right to education, but they themselves were teachers and scholars, and they taught others, especially men. Let me give you a few examples of Muslim women scholars in various fields. For example, in religious sciences, there was a woman named al-Darda, a female hadith scholar in Damascus, present-day Syria, who was one of the great jurists of the 1st century AH and taught hadith to both men and women. A woman named Karima was one of the major narrators of Sahih Bukhari in the 5th century AH, and prominent scholars such as Khatib al-Baghdadi narrated from her in their books and transmitted her teachings. According to the research of Dr. Muhammad Akram Nadwi in the book Al-Nisa al-Muhadithat, more than 8,000 Muslim women were active in the science of hadith. But what is hadith, since we have a field called the science of hadith? Hadith refers to the sayings and statements of the Prophet and his companions, which they made at different times about various matters. But what about ijtihad in jurisprudence? Muslim women also played a role in this field. Yes, a woman named Fatima bint Abbas in the 5th century AH was a Shafi'i jurist who taught religion to women in Al-Aqsa Mosque and in Mecca. Especially in the field of school education, Muslim women played a significant role. For example, in the subjects of jurisprudence and mysticism, there was a woman named Rabia al-Adawiyya in the 2nd century AH, from whom both men and women learned. Contrary to popular belief, in many Islamic schools there were women who taught men in scholarly gatherings. Ibn Asakir, the author of the History of Damascus, says in his book that during his lifetime he heard hadiths from 80 women. But what about medicine? What role did Muslim women play in this important field? There was a woman named Rufaydah al-Aslamiyya, whom the Prophet of Islam permitted to set up a hospital in a section of the mosque and treat patients. And there was a woman named Zahra bint Abdullah who practiced medicine in the Nuri Hospital of Damascus in the 4th century AH, or in the medieval Islamic period, calligraphy and the copying of books were entrusted to women, which had a significant impact on the script and the more beautiful calligraphy of the books. Why was this present so widespread? Because Islam values knowledge. He did not restrict it to men. The Prophet of Islam said that seeking knowledge is obligatory for every man and woman. The Prophet of Islam did not say that it is only obligatory in Islam. He said it is obligatory for every man and woman. When we read history without prejudice, we see that Islamic civilization was one of the pioneers in educating and teaching women. Contrary to what we see in some Islamic societies today, the current restrictions do not originate from the religion itself. Muslim women scholars have proven that gender is not an obstacle to learning. Rather, knowledge is a human right, whether it is for women or for men. If this history inspires you, like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and leave me a comment. Which Muslim woman scholar has amazed you the most? Remember, these videos will continue. Be sure to keep following this playlist with me.